Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show, where we are getting centered with Randi Jo today. Yoga with Randi Jo, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. I understand you have a very cool event coming up, and which you're involved in with the schools.
Yeah, today actually from 12 to 1, Rebecca Brenner and I will be at the Park City School District office talking about mindfulness. It's a lunch and learn. They do one once a month. So we're going to be talking about the grant that we received at the school district. We're at Ecker Hill this year, and we're teaching mindfulness to the teachers at Ecker Hill School so that they can bring it into the classrooms. So we're going to talk about what we're doing, and then we're going to do a little mindful eating exercise.
That's cool. Give me a quick little summary of what kind of bullet points will you be talking with the teachers?
Well, we're talking about basically what mindfulness is first. And it's really about just being in the present moment and being aware of what you're doing without judgment. So without getting caught up in it, being kind to yourself while you notice what's going on.
And how do you expect teachers to apply this in their classrooms?
So it's actually, the wonderful thing about mindfulness is that you don't have to take 15 minutes out of your class time every day to do this. It's something you can bring in. It takes maybe a minute at the beginning of your class. Maybe you do it once a week, you know, whatever works for your particular classroom. But to teach the children to pause, be with their breath, be still for a moment, sort of recharge, recenter, and then come back to what you're doing, and it helps the whole class kind of become one and
kind of reset.
Yeah, it's a total reset, and it can be done. The great thing about mindfulness is that you don't have to stop and sit with your legs crossed and face east, and you know, and do anything with your body. You can just notice
and breathe.
Any given moment that I'm not being centered. I'm going to take a moment here and just feel what I'm feeling, and then come back to what I need to do.
And you brought a little prop here that can help us kind of reset, recharge, get centered. What is this exercise that you brought?
So one of the first exercises we do with the teachers and the kids is about listening to the bell, and it's a really easy illustration for mindfulness. And we ring the bell, and they listen to the sound of the bell quietly, and then when they think the bell has stopped ringing, just quietly raise a hand, and it helps you with focus and being centered. And
this probably only takes a minute.
Less
than a minute.
We can do it right now.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. So put on your mindful body. So you're going to sit up tall. You're going to make sure you're grounded.
Oh, Joe wants to get
Joe's
centered too.
Excellent.
I was told that I needed some centering.
Good
You
plan.
do need some centering,
Good
Joe.
plan. So you sit up tall, get in your mindful body, just smooth out your breath. And then I'm going to ring the bell and just listen to the sound. And when you think the sound has stopped, just slowly raise your hand.
Do we close our eyes?
You can close your eyes
Okay.
if that's not comfortable for you. Some kids don't find that comfortable. You can just stare softly at something on the floor or the wall in front of you.
Okay.
All right, here we go. And that's it.
That was nice.
Yeah, it's just nice to pause, and sometimes you can do that a couple of times, and the kids become more focused on the sound, and maybe they hear it longer.
Well, exactly. You have to focus to kind of hear that very last sound.
Yeah.
So it just kind of makes you forget about everything else.
Yeah.
Zone in on the bell, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah, and the great thing about mindfulness is that it's not about saying, oh, I'm not feeling that. Like, oh, I'm not feeling angry, or I'm not feeling sad. It's about noticing how you're feeling and just being with it, accepting it, and then sort of going on from there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what a cool program for the schools. How often do you meet with the teachers?
So we meet with the teachers. We're coming in once a week, and we meet with the teachers privately. We're also doing modeling in the classroom. So we go into the class, and we'll do like a 10, 15-minute thing for the kids on mindfulness, so the teachers can see how we do it, and then go out and do it with their class when they feel it's appropriate. And then will do critique as well. If a teacher says, you know, I don't feel comfortable with this, we go in and watch them and then give them some ideas. And we're talking to parents at the PTO meetings. We're doing as much as we can. The teachers are teaching a 16-week program, and to the kids. So once a week, they'll do like a 1-minute program, and then a flyer will come home to the parents explaining what they did in the classroom, so the
How
parents can
cool.
practice at home.
What good exposure.
Yeah.
Well, let's do some yoga here,
right.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Randi Jo.
So,
okay.
so yoga is it's like completely separate from the mindfulness.
Yes,
We
yes.
don't do yoga in the classrooms or with the teachers. I do teach yoga after school, and I'm in most of the schools in Park City, from preschool all the way through junior high. And the great thing about yoga is that you bring in mindfulness. So when I teach, I remind the children or the adults that I'm teaching just to pause throughout the practice and come back to your breath. So there is mindfulness involved, but when we teach it in the school district, there's no
yoga.
specific yoga. Yeah,
Okay,
just so
okay.
you know. So we can just start by sitting up tall, take a few breaths here. Notice your breath and allow it to be smooth and even if you can. Relax your face and your jaw and your tongue. And then from here, just bring your hands out in front, your fingertips to the floor, and keep your sit bones grounded. Lift your heart and just bring yourself forward a little. And we're not going to push or bounce or try to get anywhere. We're just going to notice where we are, breathe, and just feel what we're feeling. If you find that you can move deeper, go ahead. But if you get to a point where you can't breathe, that smooth and even breath that you started with, then you're going too far. Come back a little. Good. And then walk your hands to the right.
This seems like a good exercise to do in the morning.
You said to the right?
I said the right.
Oh, I said I'm going
See?
to left.
You got to be mindful.
Sorry, guys.
There
Sorry.
we go. No, you're fine. And then keep both sit bones grounded, and then stay low. Walk over to the opposite side. Make sure you're breathing. And come back to center. Sit up tall. Bring your hands behind you, fingers facing forward towards the front of your mat. Draw your shoulders down your back and lift your hips up, your chin up. Take a breath. Notice if you have to hold your breath to do that, and then maybe you're going a little too far. And then come down. We're going to switch our crossing. Pull out any extra from behind so you're nice and grounded, and then come forward again.
Oh, that feels different.
Yeah, so each side's going to feel different. Maybe you're a righty or a lefty, or you drive a stick shift, or you had a ski accident. You never know. Walk your hands to the right again.
This time I've got it.
Now you got it. Breathe. And back to center. Over to the other side. So it's important to notice if you have expectations like, oh, this side's going to be more open than the other. If it isn't, so what? Just come back, be where you are, and just notice it. I didn't realize. You don't need to diagnose or analyze what you're feeling. Shoulders back, lift your hips on this side.
This seems like seriously something you should do the first thing you do when you wake up.
Cannot hurt.
It's just,
awesome.
it's relaxing as well as a good stretch.
Exactly. Come on to hands and knees. Like, you're just coming into your breath. You're moving your body. You're noticing how you're feeling.
Right.
So open your fingers a little, Joe, out to the side so you're not coming in. You want to open those shoulders, and then just inhale, sway your back, look up. Exhale, round. Good. Inhale, inner thighs back and apart. Exhale. Come back to center. Let's reach our right leg back and our left arm forward. So take your time. Find something to look at that's not moving. Spread your fingers wide, thumb points up toward the ceiling. Breathe. Good. And then you can even try to bring your elbow towards your knee. See how that feels. Doesn't matter if it touches or not.
Do you keep the leg up too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bring the knee towards your belly a little bit more. And then stretch it out. Hand down, knee down. Let's do the other side. Left leg back, toes point down.
I'm not listening very well today, Randi Jo. I'm sorry.
Just go with me.
Just go with it.
Yeah, so if it feels better to stay in something longer, stay in it. Good, and then we're gonna bring elbow to knee. And then stretch it out. Hand down, knee down. Again, inhale, sway, look up. Exhale, round, little cat and cow. Come back to table pose. Soften your heart, draw your tail under a touch, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. So separate your feet at least hip width, if not maybe wider this morning because it's kind of early. Bend your knees. Press the floor away. Let your inner thighs move back and apart. Shake your head no and yes. So bend your knees a little bit more. Let it feel good this morning. Yeah, you can walk the dog like Joe's doing. One heel down.
Very nice.
Yeah, and then bring your knees all the way down to the floor. Tops of your feet come flat to the mat. And you can come right here, hands to hips, shoulders back, heart lifts. Take a breath.
You know, even though we're doing yoga, I'm feeling the mindfulness happening.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you really are just kind of slowing down. You're focusing on yourself. You're realizing what you're feeling, your body, physically and emotionally. I love it.
If you practice the mindfulness, it gets easier. Sit down on your heels. It gets a little bit easier to notice throughout the day, you know, not just when you're doing yoga, but like, oh, I'm getting out of my car and where's my keys? You know, it makes you realize, oh, I need to pause and come back to where I am.
Very cool.
Take a breath.
Well, Randi Jo,
Yeah.
thank you so much for getting us centered. Joe, how do you feel?
Great.
You feel good? You're a little quiet
more.
over there. Are you like in your zen? Very good. We're
ready for the
relaxed
end.
here on the Mountain Morning Show. Thanks to Randi Jo.
Thank
Very
you.
cool that you're going to the school district today to talk to the teachers about mindfulness.
Yeah, come
Love
see
that.
Rebecca Brenner and I at the school district office. Bring your lunch and come hang out.
Awesome. And what's your website? We should probably mention
It's
that.
yogawithrandijo.com, and there's information on mindfulness on there and yoga and everything I do around town.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for coming.
you.
I hope you guys try out some of those stretches and even practice some mindfulness at home. We do have a lot more coming right here on the Mountain Morning Show.